Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. So I'll start with just a couple of announcements, and then we'll get into news. I have a lot of it to share with you. We're taking applications to start a Food Over Medicine Club or a Make Americans Free Again tribe, both ways to help us build an informed society in terms of health, medicine, legal, etc. So if you want information about that, send me an email at pampopper@wellnessforum.com. Second thing, the membership drive for Wellness Forum is on. We're expanding our membership as an incentive to join. We'll give you a gift certificate equal to the amount of dues that you spend. If you're an existing member, you can upgrade. We'll do the same thing for the upgrade amount. And we have a couple of many things you could apply it to, but a couple that might interest you. One is our upcoming Food Over Medicine retreat, May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's a Friday night, Saturday morning, afternoon, evening with dinner breaks and lunch breaks. And then Sunday night, a special take action session where we're going to take all the information you learned and put it together into something you're going to positively do for yourself starting right now. Okay. Topics we're going to cover include the great protein debate, supplements like omega-3, vitamin C, magnesium, permanent habit change, topics you've been asking about like irritable bowel, gluten, glyphosate, inflammation, and more, and lots of time for questions. So you don't want to miss that. And you can join and get a significant discount on that weekend as well. And then, of course, we have the Autoimmune Summit coming up this summer, but we have a packed schedule of really interesting stuff to share with you. And just by way of example, I'll show you our book for this month is that we're going to study is Cheryl Atkinson's Follow the Science. I'm about a third of the way through it right now. Fantastic book, by the way. We're going to talk about that next week. If you're a member and have access to that programming, you're going to want to hear what I report from that book. All right, so let's get into some news. All right. Today's broadcast, just as an overview, is designed to wake people up a little bit from the reverie that seems to have set in since the elections in November. Help us on the way. America's going to be fine. We can put the COVID stuff behind us and get back to normal. We can breathe a sigh of relief. Look at all the good stuff that's happening. America is fixing itself. I'm optimistic about some of the things that are going on. Please let me say that. I'm not a pessimist by nature, but I hope I change your mind a little bit about the level of passivity that I see setting in, because I think it's real dangerous. So I have three major news items to share with you that go to my point. And the first one is the Trump administration has granted fast track designation to an mRNA vaccine candidate for H5N1 bird flu. The company making it, I'd never heard of before, it's Arcturus Therapeutics, and the product is now in phase 1 trials. The fast track status was granted by the FDA in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services and its subsidiary organization, BARDA, which is the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. The new vaccine uses a self-replicating mRNA platform, meaning the genetic material will continue to replicate in human cells. And I suppose the justification for this must be that the mRNA shots work so well for COVID. We just want to keep that success going. I mean, I'm just kind of incredulous as I'm telling you about this. There's some new and experimental technology associated with this new vaccine as well, called STAR, which is powered by a proprietary lunar delivery system. The bottom line, what all that means is it allows the vaccine to be freeze-dried and to avoid having the deep refrigeration needed to keep the COVID vaccines fresh. So again, we're introducing a little more uncertainty and experimentation into this new vaccine. Sounds great, doesn't it? We, the taxpayers, are footing the bill for it, along with the Gates Foundation, which gave the company a grant for $928,563, October of 2024, to, quote, improve understanding of durability of protection after administration of nucleic acid-based vaccines. And just a reminder, BARDA is the agency that spearheaded Operation Warp Speed. And gosh, that was such a rousing success. I just feel great about supporting another round of that, don't you? The European Commission's already given market authorization to this company for its mRNA COVID vaccine. And what is even better is just the super fast development. I mean, cutting corners when necessary to get exciting new products to market is just great, don't you think? I mean, it just takes your breath away. And so, on the one hand, you watch the news and some decent things are going on, and then you watch the other news, and you don't want to not be excited about the good stuff, but you don't want to you don't want to ignore this type of stuff. That's how we got blindsided in 2019 and 2020, you know? News item number two is related to news item number one. A 3-year-old girl in Mexico has reportedly died after contracting bird flu. According to Mexican officials, she was the country's first human infection, and authorities don't know how she got it. As of the time of my talking to you now, authorities had tested 38 humans who had contact with the girl, and none were infected. Now, I find all of this highly suspicious. First of all, there are no other cases in Mexico as of right now when I'm filming this. According to authorities, nobody knows how the child got the virus in the first place, and there's just nothing that screams mandated testing and vaccination like a dead child. It just all seems so convenient. Obviously, there has to be more to the story. We'll see if any more of it is forthcoming, or the cabal just might milk the story for its own interest by reporting it and reporting it. I hate to see children used in this way, but it happened during COVID. I remember the scary stories about a 16-year-old boy who died of COVID. And of course, the child weighed 400 pounds and was an insulin dependent diabetic and had so many comorbidities, which doesn't make it okay, but it's a mitigating factor that's conveniently left out. So I'm sure this will be propagandized. And then maybe the most important thing to talk about related to all of this, news item number three. I'll start by saying, as my regular listeners know, Make Americans Free Gun lawyers have sued the entities and individuals who are responsible for making SARS-CoV-2, which escaped from a lab in Wuhan, China. There were so many things wrong with how this whole thing happened. First, according to the FBI, the People's Republic of China is the #1 threat to the safety of Americans. And the risky gain-of-function research that's considered risky any place you do it was done in a Chinese lab. I mean, just hard, it takes your breath away, right? The carelessness. Second, the research was conducted in a BSL-2 lab, which isn't safe for this type of research, and the organizers of this little project knew it and were exchanging emails about it. The third issue is that it was covered up by the people who were involved in it, and had they been a little more forthcoming, we have more knowledge about the origin, the response could have been different. Viruses that jump species don't spread very quickly, but they're lethal. On the other hand, viruses that are made in a lab are designed to spread quickly, but they're not so lethal. So the response to COVID was ridiculous and unwarranted, but things could have been different if everybody came clean from the beginning and told the truth. And this is why we're suing a whole lot of them for collaborating with the Chinese, for conducting dangerous research in inappropriate facilities and lying about it. So we have lawsuits against EcoHealth and Peter Daszak and Ralph Barrick and Ian Lipkin and NIAID and Fauci and Collins and the National Institutes of Health and on and on and on. So a couple of weeks ago, I reported that the World Health Organization, head of one of the WHO committees, along with another person, co-authored an amicus brief, and it definitely favored our side of the issue. And the reason why these people chose to do this, and the head of the WHO committee, was, quote, concerned that cases like this one, the one that they filed the brief for, about the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, could lead to the development of case law that fails to disincentivize even irresponsibly dangerous research where the risks clearly outweigh any potential benefits, research that should be subject to the strict liability standard for abnormally dangerous activities that the New York Court of Appeals established. And so it clearly weighed in on the side of us filing the lawsuit against these people. So why am I telling you this? Because the research is still going on today here in the United States. Whether or not it continues depends in part on outcomes of our lawsuits. My stated goal when we started this litigation was to get justice for the families of people who died from COVID, to get justice for the people who were injured by it, disabled by it, but also to disincentivize others from conducting this type of research. It's dangerous. And one way to get people to pay attention is to punish them financially. I don't like having to do it, actually. I'm not a litigious person, but I feel very strongly that if they're not punished, there will be more of it. There is right now, and I'm going to give you some data that I think is really sobering. Since 2001, there have been an estimated 309 lab leaks and pathogen escapes worldwide, with the majority, 78.6%, happening in the United States. The number is probably higher because a lot of the stuff doesn't get reported to the public, or it's not covered in peer-reviewed journals. In fact, it's often actively covered up, like the perpetrators of SARS-CoV-2. The makers of that virus did it back in 2020. In the past, previously extinct pathogenic viruses have been recreated in labs, and that includes horsepox. I don't know much about that, but also the 1918 Spanish flu. That was a CDC project. I mean, it's just hard to imagine what good could come from bringing Spanish flu alive in a lab when it could be spread. In 2015, Dr. Bernard Moss, with the permission of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, at that time Mr. Fauci was in charge, was given permission to conduct gain-of-function research with monkeypox, inserting a lethal strain into a more transmissible strain. Tell me what good could come out of that. It's like mad scientists with nothing else to do, just cooking up things to occupy themselves in a lab. Since April 2021, this is closer to home. Gain-of-function research with bird flu and mallard ducks has been conducted at the USDA Poultry Research Lab in Athens, Georgia. This might be the current strain circulating in the US. I mean, we don't know for sure. And the government, as you know, is not really interested in telling us much about these types of things. A short time ago, Bill Gates chuckled as he told a reporter that the biggest threat facing humanity is the threat of bioterrorism. And much of this terrorism and threat is funded by our government and the Gates Foundation, which, by the way, gave $9.5 million to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to, quote, modify H5N1 viruses to preferentially recognize human-type receptors and transmit efficiently in mammals. What good can come from that? I mean, and it's still going on. There is so much more to the story, and in fact, all the stories I'm telling you today. The most important thing to understand, however, is that all of the threats that existed in 2019 and led to the COVID debacle are all alive and well and ready to return to the United States at any time. Now, you can tell yourself that another COVID-type debacle simply wouldn't be tolerated, and I think you're right about this. But the people behind this nonsense are smart and calculating and powerful and patient. They will not plan and execute another COVID debacle. Of course, they'll do something else, like unleash something that really does kill people, lots of them, and quickly. Nothing makes people comply more than the real threat of death if you walk outside your front door. And nothing would be more financially devastating or interfere with Trump's plan to make our country great again. And maybe that's the point of doing it. Think it can happen? Think again and help us continue to do something about this. So part of the problem, I don't like to call it a problem, but just the situation we face is that when there's not an imminent threat, it's easy for people to say, oh, I'll start a math group sometime. I don't really need to do it now. Everything's fine. My life is great. So nothing appears like outside your front door. So it's real easy to say, I don't need to pay attention to this right now. If something terrible happens, then everybody wants to jump to it. But obviously, if something terrible happens, being prepared is a better thing. We sure as heck weren't in 2020, and it took a while for us to get our feet on the ground and get our plan together and get the lawsuit machine fired up and all that sort of thing. So we're a little ahead of the game just because we have such a great law firm right now doing the work for us. But this is a time for us to be growing and expanding and being ready, because this isn't over. I mean, you can watch the news every night. You just feel the tension rising and the people who are unhappy on all sides of the issue. And pandemics are just great ways to do social engineering. Mr. Fauci wrote an article about that in a medical journal a few years ago. And they're remarkably straightforward about what they think and what they're going to do. We would be remarkably smart to pay attention, right? So I hope you will consider doing several things. Number one, donate to make Americans free again. I'm always begging for money because we never have enough of it. The second thing is start a group or join a group. We don't have many. I mean, we have groups all over the country, but Most of you need to start a group in your area, and it's not hard. We help you do it. We'll train you. We'll work with you and make sure you're successful if you put the effort in. And I promise it'll be the best thing you ever did, but it's also the best preparation for whatever comes next. And, in 2020, they surprised us. We were blindsided. Shame on them. Boy, if they do that again, shame on us for not paying attention. And I think we would be fooling ourselves to think that they're not capable of doing it. These are people who really don't like human beings like you and I. They think they're much better than we are, and they think that we're all pretty disposable. We saw that. And I think it's good to have a good defense slash offense when people like that are lurking in your communities, just waiting to pounce at the first opportunity. All right. I hope that this has been a little enlightening, maybe a tiny bit motivating, maybe a little bit frightening, all of the above. But if it is, send me an email at pampopper@wellnessforum.com. I'd be happy to send you details about starting a tribe. Feel free to get involved, buy merchandise at makeamericans.com. That helps us make money. And of course, when you buy stuff from Wellness Forum or join Wellness Forum, we're providing the infrastructure for Make Americans Free Again. So that helps a lot too. So that's it for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. And I will be back to you next week with more news. Thank you for watching.